I just want to ask you what your reaction to this deal is, because it seemed to have come out of the blue.
It's actually funny because in the budget papers, is it the
mRNA. Yep.
Sorry, yeah, you always get them mixed up. There was actually that was put in there without an unallotted price attached to it. So they've obviously looking at they've put something away at the sidelines there for it. I think this is great for the future. If that means manufacturing those doses here, we do not know how long this is going to be around for. What we do know is that there's probably going to need more booster shots in the future. This is much better technology, much better vaccine to use than the rest of them out there. I think this is a great way forward. So it's a good start, but it's just a matter of, okay, if you're getting the tick off, let's get the plant in place, let's get it manufactured here, let's move it, let's get ready to top off. This thing keeps mutating too, so that technology can keep up with that. I think this is a great way forward. It's just a matter of, do they have the ability to get the manufacturing plant up and running here and get this moving as quickly as possible.
Is this another example, though, Senator, of a deal that perhaps should have been done a while ago?
Oh, look, I think, it's been a really, really long year now since COVID, or, certainly since it hit Australian shores just over a year. This was nothing that we've seen before. I think everyone's tried to deal with it in the best way possible. Could we have locked in Pfizer better? I don't know. I was not in those rooms to see those negotiations. Oh. I'm not sure what happened. So, look, I don't want to be spinning it out. But what I do want is this is great news for the future. There is unallotted funds sitting there. It looks like they're ready to spend whatever it's going to take to get this working. So let's get that plant up and going. Let's get ready for the future so we can get on with our lives and open our borders.
And just one more before the budget, Senator, this report in the Herald Sun this morning claiming that 14,000 travellers have been able to leave the country since the pandemic began, some up to 5 times. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I just find this absolutely bizarre. I can understand if you are a top official, military, political, that sort of thing. But look, if you're an actor or an actress and you're coming in and out, I do find that bizarre. I just find it really quite hurtful that we still have, even without putting India on the map, that we still have 30,000 of our own that are in overseas countries who now have COVID under control, but we still haven't been able to bring them back home. And I think that's quite hurtful for them and their families, that this is going on in the background. I think there was something like 130,000 that have come into our borders since COVID, but we still haven't been able to manage, as these countries have got COVID under control, to bring back our own that still want to come home, and let alone having the quarantine facilities set up as well. That's been a failure on behalf of the government, that we're now 14 or 15 months in and that we still don't have proper quarantine facilities. Good thing is go and spend the money on those quarantine facilities, because if we don't make them multi-purpose. If we do not need them and COVID dies down, that's great. But there's plenty of bloody homeless people out there. So make sure wherever you're building them, not too far out of those city centres, but not too close either. Make sure there's bus services so they can get to the services that they need to get back on their feet. Start looking at the bigger picture here.
OK, let's get to the budget now. What's your biggest issue with it?
With the budget, I think it's great what the Liberal government has done, has put all that money out there. It has been a long time coming. We've been paying for this since the horror budget. This, to me, is just catch-up. This is money that should have been put out over the last 8 to 10 years, and now they're finally going to get it out there. That's great. And I think that's a really wonderful thing. It's a pity, better late than never, as some would say. This is great, certainly needed in those areas that he's putting in. Look, aged care for one, there's no doubt about that. You've got a lot of money there, though, that you're going to roll out fairly quickly. My biggest issue is I'm not sure that I have full confidence in them putting that money into action and watching that action roll out. Don't just chuck the money out there. You're going to have to be on the tail of it. You're going to have to make sure there's not too much leakage. You're going to have to make sure that, that it's going to the people that need it and not the people that are operating certain areas, like the providers out there, that they're not ripping the system off and all the rest. That's what you're really going to have to watch.
Are you referring to the aged care spend there, where residents are allowed to get an extra $10 a day, and there is concerns that the providers will just basically scoop that up for themselves?
I am, well, I don't know how there's any room to move because a lot of, there's many of those people out there that aren't even getting fed properly, but I am worried about those providers, just like I'm worried about childcare providers putting up their prices because last I seen there's no regulation in PAC to stop that. So I think that we need to be very, very vigilant of that being exposed and losing money over in those areas.
So is your concerns sector specific, like you just mentioned there, aged care, childcare perhaps, or is it basically across the board?
Look, where there can be leakage anywhere and where that money is not properly targeted, it'd be right across the board. But look, like I said, it's a big spend and good on them. It's been a long time coming. It has been many years of build-up and it's about time, and that's great. You have to ask, we know aged care sector, for one, has been in dire straits for a long time. It's a shame it had to take a Royal Commission to get this far and to them start spending the money, which is nothing unusual for governments, which is really unfortunate because in the long run, when you don't spend that money and keep up with what is going on and the demands of those sectors, it actually ends up costing you more in the long run in the end anyway. So, have we learnt lessons from this? Who knows? But like I said, it's been great of the Liberal Party. They've thrown that money out there. It is certainly needed. We can't predict what's going to happen over the next few years, but quite frankly, that money's well and truly needed and thanked for. Are
you concerned at all about the debt, Senator, up to $1.2 trillion?
Yeah, I'm terribly worried about the debt. It is low interest rates. I've got a couple of economists in my office. I've been a single mum out there before. I've been without. I've lost a house nearly twice, and that's without having a big debt. So I'm a bit, my conscience plays into that a little bit. They say, hey, it's really low interest rates. This is great. But look, when you're on a roll like this and we are doing better than most other countries, I don't know whether that's just my negativity, but it's like, Jesus, what are we missing here? Is something going to jump in front of me that I haven't seen? So... I guess we just play it as it is.
Well, I mean, there's a bill to pay. There's a bill to pay, as you know, Senator. A lot of talk around the stage 3 tax cuts and whether they should, in fact, go ahead in the years to come. Do you support them?
Look, I think I was one of those main numbers that put that through. And I just went, so this is the problem. I mean, we put that through, what was that, nearly 2 years ago now? Was it 2 years or a year and a half ago? They're set for 24, 25, right? So I thought, this is great, I can get our housing debt removed because God only knows what's going to happen in politics in the next 4 or 5 years. So that option is open, but it certainly needs to be left on the table that if depending on how the economy goes over the next couple of years, I can tell you now, if those people need to be hit, you should remove those tax cuts if we can't afford it. If that means wiping some of that deficit for our children, then that needs to be put back on the table, and I'm more than happy to open up discussion on that myself.
Well, there's a push from Labor, from some members of the Labor Party anyway, to reduce that top tier of $200,000 to bring it down to a top of $180,000 in that tax bracket. Is that something that you'd be open to?
What I'd want to see is how much that's going to wipe off the deficit before I make my mind up, and when I have to do that and what the economy looks like. I mean, it keeps moving. We're trying to stay on top here. What's it going to look like in 6 months' time? What's it going to look like in 12 months' time? Yeah. So, for me to actually make calls on that right now might be a little bit difficult, and I might regret saying what I'm saying, Pete.
And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with China in the months and years ahead. Jacqui Lambie, always good to talk. We'll chat to you again soon.